Well, it has been 2,700 days or 7 years and at least 5 months since he became governor of Lagos State. And that means it's just about 8 months to the end of his term. It's a second-year term, the first having been served from 2007 to 2011. What are his priorities now going forward into the last laps of the race? Well, hello and welcome. This is 60 Minutes with me, Angela Ajitumobi. Thank you for joining me on the program today. Now, in this year 2014 alone, my host today has had to contend with a lot of issues. Ebola virus disease and its effect on the blossoming tourism industry in Lagos State. Of course, the return of the trailers and tankers to the Apapa-Lagos Expressway. Is it that the Lagos State government has been defeated by the tanker drivers? So, join me after the break. I'm counting down 60 minutes with Babatunde Fashola, the governor of Lagos State. Welcome back. Welcome, Governor Fashola. Thank you very much for coming back on the program with me.
It's always good to talk to you.
Right. I thought we'll start with your government's containment of the Ebola virus disease. I know that on September 18, 2014, you were able to declare Lagos State as Ebola-free. Having been caught unawares by that, do we now have a permanent quarantine center in Lagos, just in case we have another infectious disease problem?
I know that this is a 60-minute program,
yes.
And I don't want this discussion itself to narrow around Ebola.
Okay.
I think there's a larger issue here.
Right.
Infectious diseases. And they have been around for as long as the human civilization has been. From the bubonic plague, the Black Death, cholera, SARS in modern times, foot and mouth disease, H1N1, D68, new viruses will emerge, HIV, AIDS,
yes,
and all of that. So I want us to see the larger picture. Ebola is just one of them. There's been Lassa fever.
There's dengue fever.
There's dengue fever. Ebola and Lassa fever fall in the category of hemorrhagic fevers. And so it's to realize that the world has had to deal with infectious diseases that have reached epidemic proportions, and that there will be other infectious diseases across the world.
Yes.
The viruses that will originate and need to be studied and understood in order to enable scientists to go back to work and do new things,
yes,
in order to protect all of us.
Yes.
Now, to the extent that we now have an increasingly borderless world, just imagine you buying something online,
yes,
in a box,
yes,
across jurisdictions, across the seas. It can be shipped with anything, and boom. So, first of all, we must understand that we must thank all of those from generation to generation who have evolved the various vaccinations that help to immunize us,
yes,
against diseases like measles, cholera, diphtheria, whooping cough. At some point in time in human civilization, there was no answer for them. We must also be thankful to scientists who have helped to produce drugs that have helped us to cure those diseases. Now, you will see that there are two distinct ends here.
yes,
A drug as a cure,
yes,
a vaccine as immunization. And so I go back to the word that you raised about quarantine, because
yes,
there was a lot of terminologies used out there
Yes.
that I think we didn't dwell on enough, and that must be a communication responsibility that we owe. There was quarantine, there was isolation, there was tracking,
yes,
and all of that.
Yes.
Now back to Ebola. What did we do? We brought in people who were ill with symptoms of the virus.
Yes.
Fever usually, some had reached vomiting stage, and we now started tracking all those who had contacted them,
yes,
or who we suspected could have been contacts, family, people who try to heal them, and all of that. Now, you don't bring people who are not confirmed as Ebola cases
yes,
into the infectious disease hospital, because that is the making of an epidemic. So what we did was
yes,
that we got the names of all of the contacts, and we were talking to them on a daily basis. We got thermometers to them, take your temperature at least twice a day, record the readings, and let us know.
Okay.
Tell us what new symptoms, if any, you are manifesting. If we saw temperature rising consistently, then we moved in with doctors,
right,
who would evaluate the situation and say, no, stay at home.
Okay.
This is not, you are not at risk. And remember that you can't transmit unless you begin to show symptoms and you fall sick.
Right. So you can be carrying the symptoms.
Precisely the point.
And you are not yet sick.
Precisely.
You can't transfer it.
You can't transfer it. Now, so if another symptom then manifested, then we brought them in, took samples, blood, and sent to the lab. At that time, they are now moved to quarantine. That is different from the isolation ward, where confirmed, sick, and those in need of care were. So it is in the isolation ward that you need the protective equipment. Right. So it's a part of a complex. So in the quarantine, you don't need the PPE.
Right.
Of course, it will be sensible to wear gloves, wear face masks, like in any hospital, until you know what you are dealing with, and then you move. So I think these were things, but we were too busy trying to contain, and so that information didn't come out. So people were in the hospitals, in the infectious disease center.
Yes.
And we must remember this. Lagos had that infectious disease hospital to treat tuberculosis and all those kind of infections. Okay. So that was what we converted when this happened. Going forward, the plan is to rebuild the entire place into a medical research center for infectious disease, okay, build a much more modern isolation unit now, okay, with much more equipment and so many things. So the Commissioner for Health will be making all of the announcements that we have approved of policies, plans and programs beyond this. Make no mistake about it, as long as other African countries,
yes, and
indeed European and American countries remain infected, yes, we remain at risk. No doubt about that. So even what is important, yes, is that the lessons that we have learned, continuous hygiene, stop urinating in public, stop defecating in public, constantly wash your hands with soap and water, yes, must remain with us long after Ebola. There's a training program that we're organizing for all hospitals, private hospitals, because a lot of tropical diseases present first as fever. Fever, malaria, typhoid. So that training program, the Commissioner for Health will be announcing that in the next few days, yes, weeks, and how that goes to improve knowledge and capacity and training. Beyond this, we already have, I think, about 28 people who have agreed to volunteer, yes, our health workers who we are sending to Sierra Leone, because that is the last and first line of defense. If we can help Sierra Leone overcome the way America is helping Liberia, then we can lie at ease. For now, we can't. And as I said, it's not always so much about money as indeed it is about personnel, yes, knowledgeable personnel. What was instructive in the Lagos experience was that all the health workers that we deployed to look after people, none of them got infected, unlike what has happened in America, unlike what has happened in other jurisdictions. So that for us means that there is a body of knowledge and experience here that we can ship out. Yes. And we've done this before as a country, helping those two countries during the ECOMOG fleet and all of that. And this is the kind of leadership that I think Nigeria should be showing at a continental and regional level. I understand that people understandably were afraid. But the knowledge that has been gathered over 40 years now has helped us in a lot of ways to respond to our own case. Now, that knowledge, of course, was always what happened in rural areas. And from some of the things I read, in many of the rural areas there, children had gotten to understand that, oh, that disease has come.
Yes.
So they just stay away from mother or father who has it until they die. Just don't touch. So they were in different parts of the same room for days until the person died, and they just moved out and left everything behind, and in some instances just burnt them. But they were in rural areas. So Lagos was the first urban experience globally of Ebola. Now, so what we're doing is to document everything that has taken place here during that period, what we did, every process, so that we can share it with the world. Because that is the only way we can contribute to knowledge about the disease in a way that will help researchers understand it better and probably develop either a drug or a vaccine. And it's knowledge, more knowledge, that helps the researchers understand that, okay, this is how it behaves.
Yes.
It is that body of knowledge that has been gathered over 40 years that makes everybody now know that if you survive it after 21 days, it's over. It's from there they knew that, okay, first presents as a fever. It's from there that they knew that, okay, you start bleeding and blah, blah, blah. And it's from there they knew that even the dead body is more dangerous
than the living.
Now, some more information will come out in terms of the protocols for management, the protocols for wearing your safety equipment going forward. You see that those protocols are already being revised by the CDC in America. So all of the material, thankfully, Dr. Idris was in the US going to share because they invited me, but I thought it was appropriate for him to go.
The Commissioner for Health.
So he was there sharing with the members of the Congressional Black Caucus, I think, who invited us. And they were discussing not just Ebola, really, the challenges of globalization and urbanization, and this is only one of them.
So when the WHO, World Health Organization, says they will declare us Ebola-free on October 20, because we still have it in some countries in West Africa, we really cannot, put our guards down.
You see, the 21-day cycle post the last case is what WHO is just counting. It's just to be doubly sure. Because, as I said, the risk of reinfection is always there. So instead of being sorry, be safe. So we waited for 121 days. They're waiting for the second 21 days. And that is one of the terms that has come up during the process, the decontamination. So, for example, the center has been decontaminated once. They're going to decontaminate it the second time. They're going to do it the third time. So that normal activity can return there. First consultant, the hospital was decontaminated thrice. So contrary to what people were thinking that they didn't want to open the hospital, they shut it down. No, we were making it safe.
So it is safe now.
It is safe. It's back to business. It's like your lipstick. Instead of using one coat, use 2 or 3. Just to be sure that it stays.
It doesn't go.
It doesn't come off. In that sense.
Okay. You also said that the People's Democratic Party cannot claim credit for defeating this disease. And I thought, well, if the federal government came through with the grant or the intervention that they said they were going to, that probably gives them bragging rights to be able to claim credit, a part of the credit for defeating Ebola.
Well, it's unfortunate that it really has come to this. In the process of dealing with what was clearly a national threat, we did not see party colors. We did not see ethnic origins. We did not see religion. We did not see men or women. We saw Nigerians who were at risk. And we did what we needed to do, not alone with federal institutions, LUTH, federal health workers in Lagos. And for us, it was a threat to Nigeria. Yes, we were the epicenter of the risk. But I understood, at least very, very clearly, that this had not only a local impact, but it had a national and international impact. And that was why I made sure that I kept our team on the ball to avoid any distraction, and all of the material and the information that we got on a daily basis was constantly forwarded to the Federal Ministry of Health, and those were the material with which the minister briefed Nigeria and the world on a daily basis. So I thought it was cheap to introduce that success on a political stage. I thought it was extremely low, and it diminished the success of what Nigeria had achieved when the PDP sought to turn it into a personal political success. I think it was extremely cheap. You know, we can then all go back and say, if the port health service at the airport was effective, Sawyer should never have entered that city. If he arrived at an airport sick, the first place to look after him was at the airport, not to bring him into the city.
In other words, if
they had done their work, they wouldn't have put the whole Lagos and the whole of Nigeria at risk. He passed through an airport under their management. We never put that on the front burner, but if they want to make political capital out of it, they must take the political responsibility that they dropped the ball. And there is also correspondence of some recklessness by some officials at the federal level, suggesting sometime in July that Nigeria had found a cure. And if you begin to connect these little pieces with some of the things credited to Sawyer's wife, you may find out then that Sawyer reasonably believed that there was a cure here. For us, I mean, I'm moving on. There's work to do, and Nigeria will rightly take the credit for the success that she has recorded in 2 states, in Lagos and in Rivers State, and not only to domesticate the knowledge and success across all of the 36 states, that's a very important thing, but also to take it to the sub-region and go and help our brothers and sisters who are there. This is an African success. So to bring it down to that very base level of a political party really undermines what has been achieved here. And if it's an African success, let's go and demonstrate it in the sub-region.
Okay, join us again after the break. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, it's 60 Minutes with me, Angela Ajetumobi. On my hot seat today, Babatunde Fashola, the governor of Lagos State. Now, I want to take you to the Apapa-Oshodi Expressway. You know, some months back, it looked like you had a hang of this. You know, we saw the tankers move away. But everything has fallen apart there. We've seen them all come back. You know, and of course, residents of Lagos, they are blaming the state government for that situation. Looks like you are unable to handle that tanker problem there.
Residents who blame us perhaps don't know, first of all, whose responsibility it is and what the causative effects are. The port is managed by the federal government. The Tinkan-Apapa-Oshodi Expressway is one of the federal government roads in Lagos. The Tinkan Island Port also is managed by the federal government. And the distribution of petrol, importation and discharge of petrol is also managed by the federal government. So now, these are the activities that are significantly, and I emphasize that word significantly, cumulatively responsible for the unpleasant commuting experiences of the people who live in Apapa and their immediate environment. One, because whether it's NNPC, PPMC, or whichever agency of the federal government is responsible for supplying us fuel, from what people in the industry told me, their pumping stations are not working or they are not using them. So they find it easier to store fuel for the whole of the country in Apapa. So 3,000 trucks have to come from across the country into that place to come and lift fuel. So that's one. So there shouldn't be 3,000 trucks in Apapa.
Converging on any part of Lagos.
But they do that every day. Now, so this is important for people to understand. So that's one.
Yes.
Then the second thing is that there's a lot of cargo coming through, people importing rice, importing vegetable oil, importing vehicles. So all of those containers too have to move out. So add maybe at a very understated number 1,000, and
yes.
it's usually more. So 4,000 tankers and trucks, trailers every day. So that's the recipe for pain that you see there. So until the federal government gets its act right.
Yes.
So the answer is not just coming to come and repair roads. The roads won't last either. So the answer is rail. So with all this grandstanding that the rail is working,
yes.
I think the real grandstand and the real show is to move those 4,000 trailers and tankers by rail, and then we can say hurrah. That really is the deal. So all of this sloganeering and all that is not going to take us anywhere. The job has to be done.
Yes.
Now, part of the information that was made public was that the cargo handling equipment
yes.
that was to have been provided by the concessionaire, which is subject to the regulatory authority of the Federal Ministry of Finance, was not enough. So it takes longer time to process one container through the port than it should. So it's just a suboptimal, amateurish management and operation between concessionaire and government at the federal level that is inflicting pain on the people of Apapa. So when I go there, it's just to try and put men and resources there to relieve the pain. We have 7 inner roads that we are building in Apapa. Julius Berger has also complained to me that, look, they're having delays in getting sand, material, iron rods into the site because they spend, and it's going to translate to increased cost of executing those contracts. So Lagos State government itself is suffering because we will ultimately have to pay for long hours that were not factored into the contract model.
Yes.
So it's a federal government inefficiency. And the time has come for us to just honestly say that that government has demonstrated that it should not be entrusted with the affairs of Nigeria. It is perhaps possible to argue that they have given their best. The honest truth, given today's realities, is that their best is not good enough.
Congratulations anyway on a successful draw, the Lagos Home Ownership Mortgage. Most inquiries from viewers who keep writing to me, they want to know when the rent to own thing will start. Has that kicked off yet?
No, it hasn't kicked off.
Okay.
You see, the rent to own itself is a rent to own to mortgage.
It's not rent to own and you pay a lump sum and buy it.
No. What you have now is pay 30% and then pay monthly for 10 years.
Right.
Some people can't put that 30% together. So what the rent to own is going to give you is you move in, you are a tenant.
Yes.
Out of your monthly rent, a certain percentage of it is for using the building. The rest is a saving you are making to accumulate your 30%. So that should be anything between 3, 5 to 6 or 7 years. Those are the fine details that we're working through. By the time you have accrued that, you are using the house. And you know, as you're using the house, wear and tear, we need to keep that house in shape. Because if you suddenly decide that you don't want to buy it, I should be able to put it back in the market for
and sell to somebody else. The
only thing you will lose then is the share of your rent to own that is for use. The share that is your saving, you will collect it back and move somewhere else, if that is your choice. But we're working the numbers. You see, the critical thing about this is sustainability. A model that is now delivering 200 homes a month. I've checked many jurisdictions. I can't find its equal. None. By government, delivering 200 homes a month. I've checked within Africa and outside Africa. I'm still looking. And I'd like somebody to point me in any part of the world where government is delivering 200 homes every month.
Any one of the winners of these homes, have they had any challenges with payments? You know,
nothing that has been reported to me. There may be problems, but I mean, as I said, the process is running off me and able to stand on its own. So if they don't think that it's important enough, they will do. That's why they're employed to deal with problems. Mortgages have problems all over the world. Your interest rate, your account is not well, this and so those are regular day-to-day operations, and I don't think that those things haven't been brought to my attention. But the point I was making was sustainability. How to keep the 200 there that must be taken for granted, and then how to make it 300, make it 400, and hopefully get it to a place where we can say we are doing 1,000 homes every month. We have a huge deficit to claw back. When we started it, the financial curve and sustainability yield was 7 years. In 7 years, as it stands today, Lagos State government will not have to put money anymore to build a house, because the income that is coming from the mortgage, all the others, will be enough to keep the system going forever if nobody interferes with it, right, in an adverse way. So if there's any interference, it must be in a positive way to add value to that capacity. To it, yes. So now that we are trying to design a rent-to-own scheme, which is going to delay when that 33% comes in, yes, it's going to affect that sustainability curve. And those are the mathematics and the numbers that our team is working out. And we meet every month. So until we're satisfied that we found the answer, then we can't. You can't roll out. But we've met last month. We'll meet again, I think, by the end of October and see what the technical committee has come up with for us to consider. But it's a commitment we have made that we will do, but we need to do it in a way that keeps the scheme alive rather than that diminishes from the scheme.
And the Lagos Energy Academy, has it admitted its first set of students for people watching now who,
Yes, we have. I mean, you saw them in the classroom when we went to open the academy. They've been in training. So for me, that was just a ceremonial visit to flag off our energy conservation month, which is October. And so you will see the connection, all of what we're talking about, agric, transport, housing, energy, power, and those are the path.
And in roads, I remember in 2011, when you were campaigning for a second term, one of the promises you made, 400 inner city roads. How far have you gone with those? You know, we're 8 months down the line now.
I need to check now with the Commissioner for Works exactly how many roads we have completed. But I know that we are very, very close. We have awarded, I believe, all of the 400 roads. What has been completed is what I need to get currency. But the last time I reported, which is I think about 3 or 6 months back, we had done more than 50%, more than half of what we committed to. And many more, as I told you, we have about 7 in Apapa under construction. We have in Ijora Badia, we have in Shomolu, we have in Alimosho, Meron Road, Onisono Street in, I believe, in Shomolu. We have Igiolugbe in Shomolu. We have in Mile 12. We have in Badagry, Tedi, Imude. Across the state.
No one is ignored. No area has been ignored.
No, not at all.
This distribution.
And the plan now is to start, because we've essentially finished. So the plan now is even to make it easier for the next government, do an audit of the next batch of roads.
Yes.
Do the costing and leave it behind. That this, you might want to consider this next 400 as the next batch. We have 10,000 roads plus, about 6,000 of them belong to the local governments, about 3,000 plus belong to the state, and about 100 and something, I think, belong to the federal government. So it's still a distance to go. The work is not finished by a mile, you know, but what is interesting now is that there's a plan that you can hold us to. This was how it was when I was a child. First National Development Plan, second. So this is really the character of the APC now, and Lagos State and all of the other states. A government that sets a target and pursues it rigorously and stays focused, delivers and comes to report that this one is done. So let's do the next one.
What was the idea behind the October 15 Horn Free Day?
Very simple. I've said consistently, and I will say again, for me, the hardest part of my job is the protection of human life and their property. That's the hardest part. And protection of human lives and their property, especially human life, because you can replace property. Doesn't start and end for me with policemen and guns and all of that. There's a lot more to it. Ebola was a human life threat.
Yes.
So healthcare is a very, very major component of my capacity as governor to live up to that responsibility. And our preventive healthcare strategies, diabetes, and all of those things we've done, the 10 MCCs for mothers and their babies to reduce infant and maternal mortality, all of the extended maternity vacation for nursing mothers. Because if we are saying, the scientists and the experts have told us, look, listen, 1 year full breastfeeding is ideal, and we are giving nursing mothers 3 months, and we are championing the same course, then we are acting tongue-in-cheek. If we really mean it, let's do it. In any event, what productivity can you get from a nursing mother of 3 months when half of her mind is at home? Let her stay at home. 6 months, the child is crawling, a lot more steady, a few immunization shots have been taken, then the child is healthier. So again, it's back to human life and property. So what did we see? We saw that there was a lot of noise pollution. It was having adverse health effect. It was responsible from scientific evidence for aggression, sometimes violence, and when you are stressed, you can react. So, and then we saw a lot of impatience, and all of this resulting in accidents, oftentimes taking life. So it's not about, therefore, life expectancy being diminished by failure of healthcare anymore. It's now by road traffic accidents. You know, we were talking about Ebola, and the whole country had about, I think, 20 cases. In one state last week, cholera killed 20 people. One state.
And no one's talking about cholera.
And that is something that has a cure. How many people have died in tanker explosions? All of these were avoidable. So that's the underpinning philosophy. Let's look at this. And so let's interrogate ourselves. These are things that we can control. Should I use a horn or not? Why do I use the horn? I'm usually in a hurry. I'm not as caring. I'm intolerant. So why don't I just take all of that and roll it back? And it can be a really wonderful experience. A noiseless environment is a much more productive environment. This is scientific.
What was the feedback?
Feedback was interesting. The debate has started, and that for me is the most important success. Interestingly, one of my officers was telling me about his colleague that they got home, and it was a big debate
whether to horn for the gate to be opened.
So he says that the driver did horn, and then the cabinet said, well, come on, President. He said, but okay, you people declare horn free day. I said, oh. So he went to get up and call the guard to open the door, and the man said, oh, okay, take. That's a nice one. Okay, so that for me is success. The discussion for us to make voluntary choices. Does this work for me or not? That is the most important thing. And I think we've won even before we started. How much success we will now see when people are voluntarily convinced to change what is unhealthy for them is, and trust me, if I know our people as I think I do, once they are convinced
about something,
they will make change by themselves. Interestingly, I saw one group, an NGO, on one of the reports, Extreme Ideas, they call themselves. They just said, look, this is our own now.
They owned it.
Yeah, and I think that everybody should take ownership of it as a way of life. In other jurisdictions, the way that we use the car horn, you would never qualify for a driver's license.
You can't horn around the hospital in
England, hospital, the courts, the schools. So this is a call to better traffic and driving habits and etiquette. And once we acquire that, it will translate not only to general well-being, it will translate to reduce road traffic accidents and deaths that come from them. So for me, we're good to go.
Join us again after the break. Welcome back. My concluding moments now with the Governor of Lagos State, Babatunde Fashola. In the last couple of months, you've been giving some speeches, and I've been following all your speeches on value reorientation. The former governor of Bayelsa State, Timipre Silva, for instance, was 50. You gave a speech there. On October 1, Independence Day, you also gave a speech where you spoke about the spirit of Lagos. And I want us to look at all those speeches now. At Governor Silva's birthday, you said states controlled by the APC perform better than the PDP, and that Nigerians were worse off than they were 4 years ago. And I didn't agree with that. There's some PDP governors who've done well.
I didn't single out any governor.
Right.
Pound for pound.
What about those
pound for pound?
Yes.
I'm not talking about individual effort. When you color the country, how many states do the PDP control? How many states do the APC control? What is the developmental level? What is the resource income levels?
Right.
And you can make your... I'm not singling out any one of my colleagues. I can say that on a comparative basis, the time of governors from 2007 to 2011 have just moved things forward in terms of quality of service from where they took off from the class of 1999
to 2007.
And one just expects that the class of 2015 and beyond can only do better. On a national level, it's quite a different thing. Do you have fuel? Do you have energy? And it's not me asking, just ask, I mean, it's not me saying, ask the ordinary Nigerian. Do they have jobs?
Yes.
Now, how many lives have we lost in peacetime? And when we advertise 5,000 jobs and 50,000, 60,000 people appear in one out of like 30 centers, what does it say about where the problems lie? And if we are unable to connect the management of the economy to electricity, to lack of production and jobs, then we have a problem.
But some people would say to you that all these problems you've listed, they're problems that have gathered over the years. You know, are these things we're going to solve overnight? I mean, you are going to leave some things behind. Government continues.
I agree. I agree. The question always is that these things are located within a space of 4 years. And for me, the question is, were the last 4 years better than the one before? And people must understand that I am a citizen first before I am a governor. And I will remain a citizen. And I'm entitled to talk about my country, whether I have a political leaning or not.
Have people expressed to you about your recent politicking? You know, suddenly people are seeing you as a more political animal with some of your...
I think that we often too quickly ascribe politicking. Every day we politic. And I've made the point to those who care to be reflective that from inside their homes every morning the politics start. So you can choose to ignore it and see only those who hold public office as politicians. In the banks, in the boardrooms, in the shareholders' meetings. What is politics really and truly? It's the management of human affairs, nothing more, nothing less. And in the private and public sector, politics every day. How you are going to take over the board seat of somebody, how you want to see the back of the AGM so that you can become the next AGM, how clusters of people are thinking in one company, even in 60 Minutes with Angela, how some cameramen are thinking that, well, look, we better stay with this person than with that person because that's politics. It's interest and protection and the actualization of aspirations. But on a serious note, the things that I talk about are not original to me. Once we've just looked across board, you will see that they are the missing elements. Let's go back to the Governors Forum issue. And adults were not uncomfortable or indeed ashamed to continue to argue that 16 votes were superior to 19 votes. For me, I think that in the sense, it was a question of values. I think for me, the sense was, okay, look guys, we've lost this one, we can win another one. So, it's if you don't win, is my way or the highway? It's a question of values. What's your sense of competition? Yes. Where do you draw the line? Must you have your way? Is there a point where you will say, hey, this offends my values?
Yes.
I can't lie. I can't stand logic upside down. Those are the issues I'm talking about. There's nothing absolutely wrong in seeking to change the leadership of an organization. But when the rules of the game have been manifest and you vote and you lose, the honorable thing to say is whoever sent you is to go and meet the person and say, look sir, we lost, we will win another game. You know, people can say in the Premier League in football that okay, because it's their home ground, they are not going to agree. Teams have lost games at home by bad decisions and they have moved on because they know there's a next game. And you also see that in the way that elections are conducted, because the electoral umpire clearly disenfranchises a party in a stronghold and says you should go to court. There are issues of values. So people have debated and argued about independence. There's really nothing independent in this if the holder of the office is not independent at heart. You know, we had all sorts of debates and I said, look, listen, at the end of the day, it's the devil and the deep blue sea. Once you have been appointed, you cannot be removed without a process that involves the National Assembly. That process of the National Assembly is the process of the people, because the people in the National Assembly are representing the people of Nigeria. Yes. So what more independence do you want? So go and do your job by the principles of what is right. Now, again, we are having debates and discussions about the definition of what is right is now going in two different directions. So some people are telling us that, oh, you see, things that have not been done have been done, and they are showing us photographs of roads that everybody knows has not been done. So where is the propriety of even the media organizations that are carrying those messages knowing that they are false? Where is the regulatory role? Because I believe that even in advertising, there are certain minimum standards. That is this thing true? Is it false?
Yes.
And so on and so forth. Look, they speak to values, nothing more. I'm not saying anything new. And when things go wrong, then we now start pointing hand. He's Christian, he's Muslim, he's ethnic, he's not ethnic. Wrong is wrong. So if somebody has done something to you as a public officer or as a private person, don't ventilate that complaint by the color of the dress that that person is wearing. Ventilate it and say, look, he punched me. Don't say he punched me because he didn't like my weight. Don't say he punched me because he didn't like my color. All of those are not in the books. What is in the book is that you must not be punched. That person has no right to assault you. So then you can seek remedy. And if somebody has done something that is wrong, people shouldn't then come out and say it's our daughter, it's our son,
and defend
what is wrong. What that person is entitled to is a fair trial and a right to be represented by a lawyer of his or her choice, and to see that the process is fair, that gives him or her a trial. Once we get back to all of those things, our lives will be better. I am so sure. You see, oftentimes all of the things that stand in our way, there will be no perfect constitution. There will be no perfect law, because all of the constitutions and all of the laws are made by human beings.
Yes.
And therefore, they are limited within context and space and time. But when ultimately you are pursuing an objective,
yes,
something tells you at a point that, listen,
this isn't right.
This isn't right. So even if you feel that this cameraman has just stepped over the line, but you know that it's not right to take it out on his child, something must pull you back and say, okay, let the man escape justice instead of inflicting undeserving pain on a very innocent child. Yeah. Those are the values that must come back. So, and then you control your ego instead of your ego controlling you.
Yes.
And that's why I said, if the people are bad, the best laws will not work. And I made the point in my speech at the Leadership Award, yes, that Nigeria has not changed. Its human resource has not diminished. Its natural resource is even beginning to reveal itself more. What has changed are the people, the values. And so we must go back to those values. So when we go back to those values, corruption will become corruption. It won't be a definition of whether stealing is corruption or stealing is not corruption. It won't be a definition of whether if somebody steals money, another country will know. Corruption will just be corruption. We know that it's a bad thing. And therefore, you see, you begin to see electricity, because that's why we can't have fuel. Yes. That's why we don't have electricity. That's why there is poverty. That's why there is unemployment. You see, there is no system that doesn't lose money. But the systems react and say, this person must stand trial. The public must hang somebody. When we had the political expenses scandal, that's what they call it. It was corruption in the UK Parliament.
Yes.
They were using public money to buy all sorts of things for themselves. The public hung the speaker. They had to.
Somebody went down.
Somebody must go down.
Yes.
That's the way to say. So, and all of what we have had, who has gone down? From 2.3 trillion unappropriated fuel expense to all of the comedies we saw on TV and hearts beginning to grow tall and short, to vehicles, 40 or 20 billion dollars, to pension funds. Nobody has gone down.
So now you've done 2,700 days in office. Going forward, are your priorities changing? What is the plan now? Are you rounding up? You've been accused of not doing enough in this second term.
People so I want to do enough.
People thought you slowed down your pace in your first term.
I want to do enough, but there will never be enough. For me, it's about the next team now. How can I make it easier? And that's how it must be.
Do you have an idea of who will be heading your next team here in Lagos?
I don't.
But you know what they say, a leader is only successful if he can groom his successor.
Yes, it depends on how you interpret all of those things. We are expert at idioms. On one hand, we accuse our leaders of imposing. On the other hand, we say groom successor. And the question is, are we really Democrats at heart and genuinely? I'm happy to say that of all the people who have indicated interest in succeeding me from our party,
yes,
I'm happy to note that almost all of them, I think, without exception, have served in government of Lagos State or at one level or the other.
And are capable.
And I've met with them, as was reported.
Yes.
And they're on top of all of the issues, and I'm happy. It comforts me that any one of them will do the job.
So you're not leaning in any direction, you know, whichever way.
If this is a democracy,
yes,
I think this must be a people's choice. That's what it's all about. Who do the people of Lagos want next? What do they want? What
are the qualities you think the next governor should have?
I can't legislate it, but I know that this is a very big undertaking. It's the 5th largest economy in Africa. It's on an upward swing now, so it's not a place for beginners. It's not a place to experiment.
For learners?
So those who want to learn must join the team in a participatory, not in a leadership position. So, but all of the people who have shown interest, from our side at least, have the experience. They will know where the key is, one. They will know where the ignition is, and they will be able to start the car.
You think your party will retain this state?
I don't think I know. I think that the people of Lagos have seen development, and they're going to vote to keep development. And when you look at the comparisons across board, and that's why I made the point when you were talking about one of the PDP governors. Yes. The point is that pound for pound, with fewer resources, each state gets 1/36 of 26%, and the federal government keeps 52%. And some of the states you have mentioned get derivation of 13%.
On top of that 136 or 26.
Exactly. And you see how unequal the fingers are. And then some states have 5 times, 4 times the multiples of their population, and yet they deliver. So when you look at that, what then does the PDP offer in terms of its outstanding achievement to the people of Lagos to say, this is it? You know, if you permit me to speak a little vernacular, if somebody wants to clothe you and he's wearing rags, I mean, come on.
And then I can't let you go without talking about you. A lot of people have accosted me saying, what next for you? Will you be going to the Senate? And I stumbled on this, a quote from Chief Ayo Akonde, member of the APC in Lagos. Let me tell you what he says. He says, Fashola will make a good president, but if the presidency is zoned to the north in the APC, then he will make a perfect running mate. End of quote. What do you say to that?
Opinion.
You would say more than that.
Opinion.
Regarding these speculations now, the former head of state, General Muhammadu Buhari, visited you, and everyone, news mediums were highlighting that visit. Was that to ask you to be his running mate?
I think the event was reported in public, and he was to invite me to his declaration of intent. And
yes.
You have to understand that for me it was an APC event. It also showed the support that our party is able to muster in a few days, and I'm happy I went.
Yes.
And as much as time permits me, I will attend others, just as I followed others that I could not attend on TV with the very best intentions in the world. You can't attend all events.
Yes.
And there's some you just follow on TV, there's some you read about later and keep a particular eye on what interests you in there. So I think what it has achieved, of course, it's helped to reassure those who were concerned that the APC was probably not energizing up the politics. So,
yes.
I mean, there's some activity going on, and I would like all of the other candidates, even at state level, to begin to make those declarations and energize the polity. This is the season. INEC has said this, you can now go out. So even House of Rep, states, get on the road, and let's really have, for me, campaign should be a season to really
get out there and do it.
For me, this is where you can take your children, this is when you can take your wives, really go and have a ball, listen to thought-provoking speeches, ideas about development, elevate the issues about the polity, and let's not do this underground politics.
Hide and seek.
Yeah, I mean, we watch all of these events in Europe, in England, and we say it's nice. And then we are reticent to do it. This is it. Let all those who are interested throw their hats in the ring.
So are you interested?
If I throw my hat in the ring, you will know. So that's the only way to know. Throw your hat in the ring if you're interested.
Thank you very much, Governor Fashola, for having me again.
Thank you.
You still didn't answer the question.
I answered opinion.
That's it for this week. Well, if you missed a part of this interview, you can watch it again on our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/TEDTV60. youtube.com/TEDTV60. Of course, you can like 60 Minutes with Angela on Facebook or follow me on Twitter, Angela at 60 Minutes. And I'm Angela J. Tumobi. Thank you for watching.